All right, lads, welcome back to another episode of Who's Got the Ball. Myself and Shane back here once again. What's the crack, Shane?
Not a whole lot. The sun is shining. Liverpool are winning every week. I have nothing to complain about this week. If
That's
you
usually the
didn't,
way you start the episodes for the last while, but
yeah,
couldn't do it
exactly.
this
But
time
no,
around.
not this time. We have Storm Amy making a tear of the place, and Liverpool are falling apart. So we just let's not talk about it till we get into the episode this week.
Yeah, well, to add insult, at least you didn't do what I did earlier. I was like brushing my teeth this morning. I put toothpaste on the toothbrush, and this has never happened to me before, but whatever way I pushed it down, it literally flicked right into my eyeball, and it was in flames. And straight away, my reaction was to close my eye, made it like 10 times worse. It was like
Yeah,
smushing around in my eye. So yeah, that was a great start
yeah.
to the
That
day. That
it's
kind of
yeah. That's a bit like the time I was wearing contact lenses on a night out in Nancy's, and a fella spilled his drink into my eye and knocked out one of my
oh
contact
my
lenses
god.
somehow. At a work party. So going around for the rest of the night with one contact lens in. So thank God it was my good eye that he didn't. Sorry, thank God it was my bad eye that he got. He got the right eye, so I could still see out of my left eye. But I'd say I was going out for 3 hours, obviously blasted as well. Trying to trying to look out of one eye and not walk into people. But yeah, so
Yeah, that's probably
yeah,
worse than the
those
toothpaste in the eye, to be honest. So
yeah,
that
like
was
at least you were able to get on with your day
yeah,
eventually, probably.
just about my eye was just pure bloodshot at the start. I was like, if I lose an eyeball to a toothpaste attack, this is not going to be a good way to start the week, but or to start the day. But let's get into the topics then. We touched a lot this week. Shane had a couple of funny, interesting quotes that he used multiple times, so
Oh,
you'll have to hold out and listen
cliche.
to
I turned
those.
into a walking cliche.
So many cliches. It was hilarious. But we've got starting with the Premier League, Graham Potter getting sacked and Nuno coming in there. Then looked at two of the best performances from last weekend. So Crystal Palace and all about their unbeaten run, and Brentford, how they've done well, and we mentioned them again for the second time in like 3 weeks on how they performed well at the weekend. Then we previewed the Premier League games for the weekend ahead. The big one was Chelsea versus Liverpool. So we previewed that and we gave our prediction on a final score. Moved on into the NFL. Obviously, we had to talk about the Dublin game, our reaction to that, everything I thought about it from being there, and everything Shane thought from watching on the TV screen, two different perspectives, but it was really good moment to have it, and we hope to have it back again. Next up, we talked about the Ravens, how they've had an awful start to the season. They're just miserable, sitting at 1-3, so many injuries. So we went deep on that. Gan Seans continues. The score is sitting at 2-2 now, so going for another week again. Let's see how we get on. Picking our underdogs for the week ahead. Then we previewed three more teams for the NBA. We've been doing that throughout this off season, so we've got about 6 teams left before we do our full season preview before the season kicks off. This week we touched on the Lakers, the Kings, and the Warriors. And then last up, we gave you our power rankings. So listen to the end to get an update on those and enjoy all the bits along the way. Let's get
You,
right into them.
uh, you actually, you actually forgot one thing. You
What's
forgot to
up?
mention that we did have a bit of we had a segment on the beer as well. You forgot to mention that. So listen
Oh,
out for that. And you'll hear about our rankings of Rockshore and
oh,
others as well.
geez.
So
I forgot we went in
that's
depth on
just after
Rockshore.
the NFL.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
so
pure.
that like is anyone that the episode this year is going to be about 4 years long because we spent 10 minutes talking about beer in the middle of it. So enjoy that as
Yeah,
well if you wouldn't mind.
yeah, that just started off as a story, and then we literally got into like every detail about Rockshore, and yeah, just listen, you'll find out. Let's get into it. All right, so let's start with a managerial sacking. Something I gave as my hot take before the season started was that Graham Potter was going to be the first man sacked. The two managers we're going to talk about now were actually one and two. Potter was second, and it wasn't due to being the second worst manager this season. He is probably comfortably the worst, but the first one was due to kind of an outside situation that we spoke about last week on Nuno Espirito Santo. So if you want to hear more about that, go back and give that a listen. But I think Potter going out after 9 months into a 2.5 year contract. Second time he was sacked in less than 2 years, and then the aforementioned Nuno gets hired on a 3 year contract. So massive upgrade for West Ham, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the best decision they've made since they rehired David Moyes after sacking him. Just he's just such a better manager. Like it's literal talk chalk and cheese between Nuno and Potter. I think I said it last week, and if I didn't, I meant to. But you could like everyone was ranting and raving about Potter at Brighton and how good he was. But Brighton never dipped when he left.
Hmm.
They stayed the same way, same players, had no drop off at all, which goes to show that it might have been more the players that were leading Brighton more than him. He just got a
Hmm.
reputation. Obviously, the manager does. He gets all the credit when the team's playing well. All the everything lands at him when it's not going well. So Joe, he got the credit for it, and fair enough. But Brighton didn't drop an inch when he left under De Zerbi, and the same now under Hurstler.
Hmm.
So I don't think he really was a difference maker, and he was a difference maker at West Ham, but he was in the wrong way. So they definitely he had to go. Quite simply had to go, and I think Nuno is definitely the best one they could have come in. You'd have had him at United if United did the decent thing, and it's at Dameron this week as well. So Joe, like that says enough for me that he's definitely one to watch. Now, I was talking to the lads about this on Monday night, and they were saying that he's good for a year or 18 months, and then that's when he starts kicking up a fuss. So giving him a 3 year deal might have been an issue. Maybe a 2 year deal would have been a better one for him, so they're not paying out a year and a half, and they do eventually sack him in 18 months. But I think he'll steady the ship. They won't be relegation candidates for me now anymore.
Yeah, I think if it comes down to someone that's kicking up a fuss and you have to sack them due to that, you would rather that than be in stone bottom of the table and then having to sack somebody because of that.
100%. Yeah.
So I think when he leaves them, he'll leave them in a much better situation than this, and maybe they'll actually, put something behind him and focus on him and let him build the thing the way he wants now. West Ham have not done that so with other managers, so it's unlikely the evidence points that it's not going to go that way. But it would be good for him and it would be good for West Ham if they did that. He is another Moyes kind of esque manager that'll raise your floor a lot. Now,
Mm.
how high he'll take you ceiling wise is hard to know because he got Forest into Europe, but we didn't get to see what he could have done. That would have been a good acid test, but we didn't really have that. So I think it would be nice to see him do good with West Ham and then let him see where he can take a team further down the line because he really hasn't got that chance. But Potter, on the Potter comment, yeah, that was a great point about how things were steady, like, and after he left Brighton. Like, do you think it's probably, I think anyway, that it's probably down to more the recruitment structure and the way the team is built. They get coaches that play the way the director of football and the team is set out to play.
Yeah.
It's not really like adapting to a manager's philosophy. It's the manager fits it already.
Yeah. 100%. Sure, Tony Bloom made his money on gambling. So, like he is probably one of the smartest men in football, I reckon. I obviously don't know him personally. I'd love to have a chat with him, but I just think the way he goes about everything, like he has a manager shortlist the same way teams have player shortlists
Hmm.
at Brighton. So he knows the derby goes, I want Hurstler. Hurstler goes, he'll know who is next in line for him. It could be again, a manager in Bundesliga 2 comes in, does a cracking job, gets taken, and then comes the next one. Like I'd say his 10-year plan for Brighton has him playing the exact same way, just under different coaches. And
Yeah.
he has players drawn up to sign. I think Brighton if every club was run like Brighton, then football would be a far better place, I think, personally.
Yeah.
Speaking of managers in the worst position, I know this is off topic now, but Wolves giving their manager a new contract when they had 0 points. I know they love him, the fans love him, the players love him. I still think it's a mad decision that might come back to bite him because, okay, they got their first point at the weekend. They were good and solid against Spurs, but
Yeah.
they're like, if they get relegated, what are they going to do? Like, are you going to keep
Exactly.
the manager that got you relegated and try and get you back up? You've just given him a new deal. I just think it's madness when things are going so badly. He's like, oh well, now we're a model of consistency. It's like, yeah, but is it the consistency you want?
Yeah.
When you had 0 points in the league, so we'll have to wait and see how that one kind of plays out. But I think we could be talking about him in a couple of weeks again as what on earth were they doing?
Yeah. That could be the way because last year we thought how he did like really well to start off, but it was like a
Yeah,
long-winded new manager bounce, and then they seemed to fall off massively the start of this season. So
yeah.
maybe getting him the new contract will give them another bit of a kick on, but it does seem like a very odd thing to do given they had 0 points, like you said, at that point. But
Yeah.
we'll move on to what we have covered the last few weeks, and our recurrent segment about football now is going to be the performance of last weekend. So it was going to have to be one team, and that's Crystal Palace. They've been spectacular for a long
Two
time now,
teams.
but two teams?
Brentford as well. We have to give them a
Oh,
quick shout
Brentford.
out
Yeah,
too
sorry,
because
sorry. I forgot we had to shout out Brentford as well because not only are we right about something for once, which we have to reinforce,
yeah,
we said that Brentford were like a team to watch and a team that were given the performance of the weekend like 2 weeks ago. So it's only right that we double down on that now in a few minutes. But first up, we've got Crystal Palace. They're on an incredible unbeaten run. What do you think of it?
80. There are 18 games they're playing at the moment and they're winning, so it looks like it's going to go to 19 as well.
Yeah, I
It's
was
one of the
keeping an eye
games
on that,
where,
so
like, I
we
was
have
looking,
the
yeah,
updated information. They're 2-0 up right now, so looking good.
yeah, I was wondering, I checked a few minutes ago, but I was looking at the stats of it and I was like, it's not the kind of game you can whittle down into stats because if you read the stats, you're like, oh, Liverpool dominated this. And
Mm,
they just didn't. Palace bullied them all over the place. 7 big chances occurred against Liverpool. Allison was the reason it wasn't 4-0 at half time. Mateta made Canate look like a clown. It was just crazy to watch. Guay and Morton. If Liverpool signed the two of them in the morning, I'd be absolutely over the moon. I know Guay was nearly done, but Adam Morton as well is just he's a Rolls Royce and he's 21. Like he's incredible to watch in midfield. They deserve to win. They should have been out of sight. Liverpool were awful, but Palace for the reason Liverpool were awful.
yeah, the pressure that they put them under, especially in the final third. Like in that first half, it could have been 4-0, 5-0. The amount of turnovers they
Could have
caused
been.
and the pressure they put them under. Allison made some big saves, but as you said, Canade was just like Bambi on ice back there. Like he didn't
Mm,
know what to do at all with Mateta, and it's not the first time he's been like that this season. So it is a bit worrying, but I think Palace were a big reason for that. Now, the last time they were beaten was the 16th of April. That was a 5-0
Newcastle
drubbing by
walloped them.
Newcastle. They absolutely got hammered. But then, since then, they've turned it on. Now it's going to be 19 unbeaten tonight. And along the way, they won their first major trophy in their history. They picked up the Community Shield and they're unbeaten going into the first 6 weeks of the Premier League. So if they can beat Everton this weekend, that'll be a 20 game unbeaten streak. And Crystal Palace fans would have bitten your hand off if you told them that was going to be the case last April after that loss to Newcastle. Just unbelievable. And you mentioned one of the people I have highlighted here is Wharton, but the fact I have him highlighted is because of that system that they play. Him and either Kamada or Hughes, whoever plays next to him, is the reason that team ticks in midfield. And another reason
Mm.
is the fact they have such good wing backs and how Mitchell has adapted to that wing back position. And obviously Munaz, they brought him in a position that he could do that already. And once you have good wing backs and a strong two in midfield, then that system clearly works. And that's probably the downfall of United right now because they don't have great wing back rotation and they're very leggy in midfield.
Yeah, so the thing that's kind of I was trying to pick players to stand out as well, and it was really hard not to just put down the whole starting 11 because of how they played. But
Mm,
I thought Ishmael Assar was incredible as well. He's just such a workhorse. He does so much damage. Scored the first goal, obviously, as well. But it's not just about the goal. It's he's always pressing. He's always running. He never, literally, never stops. And then Jeremy Pino is getting up to speed,
mm,
but while he wasn't as like he didn't have anything explosive, there was nothing about him that you'd say, oh, he had an outrageous game, other than the fact that every time the right back Bradley had the ball in the first half, Pina was in his face. Or else Mitchell was in his face. Joe, they have such a good system. There's always someone for everyone. And Liverpool have struggled against back threes for a while now. I can't remember the last time we played well against the back three, but this back three the Palace do, and we'll get on to United in a second. We talk about Brentford, but Palace are showing how to do back three right, whereas United are showing how when it's wrong, it can go really, really wrong. But what Palace are doing is just incredible. As I said at the top, like 7 big chances created.
yeah,
It should have been game over at half time. Liverpool should never have had a chance to get a point going into the 97 minutes. Should never have been there. Now, when they got there, they should have held on to it. It's criminal what they do with the from the throw in. Even giving away the throw in, I could have nearly jumped through the television at Kirk's for not just swinging his right footed and getting it up the field. Like,
yeah,
but Palace were so deserving of the 3 points. They were just start to finish the better team. Liverpool
yeah,
were a good bit better in the second half, but that doesn't explain the first half and why they were so bad. They just could not get to grips with what Palace were doing.
yeah. No, I agree. I think Palace were a great value for the win. Um, and getting their win tonight in the Conference League, which I assume they will, is massive as well to get into Europe and win away from home in your first game. They're just on a great run at the moment, and as we already mentioned, they have Everton away before the international break, so they'll be hoping to take this streak to 20. But you mentioned already Brentford. They beat Man United 3-1. Now, this game was like one team knowing exactly what they needed to do and another team not having a clue because Brentford knew the game script before they even went into it. They were hoping that United were going to slip up in moments, which they did. They were hoping that they could hit them with even one decent ball over the top. And Maguire played an awfully suspect attempt at
Mm.
playing somebody offside. That's the main reason why I think it was criminal not to start Yarrow. And I can't wrap my head around that. But this is on Brentford now, not how bad United were. And Brentford did exactly what they needed to do. Collins was suspect again for maybe the third time in the Premier League this season, but
So was
Kelleher
Kelleher.
did
Kelleher was
bailed him out.
suspect as well.
He was suspect on the first goal, but he bailed him out with a penalty save, which is
Yeah.
the real turning point in the game. And that kind of solidified the win, and they held on easily pretty much from that point and bagged another goal. So a huge 3-1 win. And they have City this weekend. Wondering can they do it again because Pep's system clearly has some flaws to it so far this season. And Monaco exploited them last night. So I think Brentford
Mm.
could give City a good run for their money this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think Brentford, they might have a crash later in the season, but at the moment, they just look like they're a team that knows exactly what they're doing. Um, it took them a couple of weeks. They're only up there. I think they're only up to 7 points now. But like I don't think unless they have a massive crash, I don't see them having any real relegation issues. Igor Thiago looks like a monster up front for me. He's an absolute machine. That finish, the ball over the top from Henderson, first of all, is outrageous. It's such a good pass again. It's like the one he played for Shada, put him in against Chelsea as well.
Yeah,
And then Igor Thiago running onto it. He's like the perfect foil for Shada. They're both fast. The big man, small man, and as the two, they're just. It's another team showing how a back three works.
yeah.
Um, we won't talk about United today. We're probably sick of talking about United, but I just think unless they have a massive dip in form, I don't see how they're going to be in too much trouble this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the thing about these teams that it's rarely the actual three centre backs. I find that's the issue with teams that play back threes badly. And I don't think that's the issue at United either. The actual three centre backs, because Maguire had a bad game, but before that, the week before, he had a good game, and Euro has been consistently good there. It's again, I mentioned it before, the utilization of wing backs and having strong midfielders that can run for days. And Brentford have no problem sitting back three into that midfield, whereas United find it hard to do that. So that was an easy domination point for them to
Yeah,
overpower United. But they also know how to defend the box very well, so they're comfortable sitting back. Like United left points behind them there because they had the chances, but Brentford did things that teams who know how to finish, where they need to finish. Like Brentford have no illusions about themselves. They're not going to think this season they're going to finish in Europe, but they want to finish maybe
yeah,
between the 12 to 9 range. At it would be amazing for them. But they know how to get the points to get close to that, and they just need to consistently do it. And hopefully for them, avoid injuries because if they have the same lineup, I don't see them struggling too much this season, as you've already said. Um,
yeah.
really
I
impressive.
think United's biggest issue, just to have a quick word on them, is it is that four in the 3-4-3. It's the fact he's playing Bruno as a sitting midfielder is not the
Mhm.
answer. And then he finished that game with Embuemo on one wing back and
Yeah,
Mason Mount as the other wing back.
it's
Like,
crazy.
come on, but
At
like
that point,
Joe,
why are
we're
you
talking
still
there about
playing three at
strong
the back if they're
fullbacks.
losing by a game
Exactly,
or
yeah.
by a goal?
I was saying that to Chops the other day that it's so easy when you have those players in the pitch, just go to a 4-2-3 or 4-2-3-1. The players are there. Instead of literally putting the squarest peg into the roundest holes, just trying to get every attacking player on the pitch, but still keeping a 4-2-3.
Hmm.
It beggars belief at this stage how he's just so, what's the word I'm looking for? He's so wedded
Hmm.
to this 3-4-3 that he won't even for 10 minutes he won't even go to a 4-2-3 and see what works because he's afraid if it works that he'll have
Yeah.
to then switch to it. That's his problem. He doesn't want to go for it. And then United scored two goals, win the game 3-2, and he's like, oh, do I now have to go to a 4-2-3?
Yeah.
Xabi Alonso's gone to Real Madrid and completely abandoned his 3-4-3 and gone 4-4-2 because he
Hmm.
didn't have the players that it suited. United clearly don't have the players, and yeah, I'm sick of talking about him. I'm sick of talking about him. I hope he's still in charge after the international break when Liverpool play him, and he can get fired then after that.
I think you make a good point as well about going to 4-3-3 as opposed to 4-2-3-1 because again it's going to be the same issue where you're light in midfield, because you've just got a two there, and it was the same issues under Ten Hag with that system. The best it's worked in recent memory is with three in midfield and playing a 4-3-3, because they haven't invested in the midfield for some unknown reason. But yeah,
Yeah,
we'll move on then to our preview of this weekend. So the biggest game is Chelsea versus Liverpool. I believe it's 5:30 on Saturday afternoon.
half five on Saturday. Yeah.
So poor couple of games for Liverpool results wise, but the performance for me has been not amazing this season. We've touched on it before. And there's a couple of games there where they got out of jail, and now there's been flashes of brilliance. But I think the results the last couple of games is not the reason that people are maybe piling on a little bit with questions. I think it's the overall performance of the season, and the kind of lack of cohesion. Like looking at how they are in the league. XG isn't everything. You can perform XG no problem, but they're seventh in the league in
Mm,
XG, and overperforming it consistently isn't really sustainable. The fact that they have 64.5% average possession, but only creating the seventh most XG is kind of alarming to me. Chelsea have 61.4% possession across the league, and I think they're in the top four for XG created. Now, Liverpool are a better team than Chelsea
mm.
still. The eye test will tell you that stats aren't everything, but it is a little bit worrying when you're overperforming that much and you have the ball a lot and it seems a little bit stagnant. And that's going to be an interesting part of this game because Chelsea are at home and they like to have possession. Liverpool like to have possession and they're on the road. To be honest, with the way the last few games have gone for Chelsea, I can see Maresca being the one that concedes the possession here because he might be a little bit afraid.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of Liverpool's biggest issues has again been a midfield balance. They haven't controlled a single midfield all season, and that's the reason they've been struggling so much. He's also gone to a two in midfield, but a one in front with the sign of Wirtz. But even when he had Szoboszlai in there against Everton, he's still stuck with the two and the one. So clearly, this is the system he wants to go with. But I think for the moment, he might be better off going back to the three midfields, dropping Wirtz a bit deeper, and just seeing how that goes because they need that three midfield clearly because everything they're doing is just being found out so easily and so quickly. But I do agree with you here. I think Maresca will give Liverpool more of the ball and try and hit him on the counter attack with his fast wingers.
Hmm.
I presume João Pedro is going to play up front, so who does he put in the hole behind him? Then will be the key issue for him, I think. So we'll have to wait and see
Hmm.
what he does there. But I just think like Liverpool have to click at some point. I just said like they haven't just turned into a bad team overnight. And the last game for the international break be a great time for him to just put something together and come back in and build on it. So
Yeah,
I have to wait and see. Chelsea, I don't know what's going on at Chelsea. Three red cards in three games now as well.
it's just ridiculous. It shows to a lack of kind of discipline in the squad, I would
Maturity.
say overall, and
Yeah.
maturity. Yeah, exactly. And then to add to that point, we went in on Maresca last week. The ridiculous decisions he made. Maybe they don't have full confidence in him. Some of the players, and another point is they're just ravaged by injuries. Like if you look
Mm,
at how many players they signed, it shouldn't matter too much. But when you're losing Fofana, Adebayo, and Caldwell, all from kind of three of your best centre backs in such an important position, they're going to have to start Buddy Shield there probably, and Liverpool might have a field day with him. And then Palmer and Delap being out too. You're two of arguably your best three attacking players there.
yeah.
You're going to have to start some inexperience in Tyreek George, maybe. It's a difficult decision. They managed to eke out a win versus Benfica at home, in the Champions League, and obviously Liverpool, as we touched on, did lose away. But I think despite all that, Chelsea will sit off a little bit. Liverpool will pick them apart, and I have Liverpool winning 2-0.
Yeah, I've tuned out Liverpool as well. I think Chelsea's biggest problem is going to be their centre half partnership 'cause it's going to be probably Shalaba and Badiashile. And that's not a centre back partnership that fills anyone with confidence. Shalaba is good at Palace in the tree, but when he's basically going to be doing it on his own, because Badiashile is nothing special. Like, are they going to get on their knees and beg Axel Disasi to go and sit in the bench for him this week, or is he even registered in the squad? Who knows? Like, I don't think they have enough striker or enough centre backs.
Mm.
And then up front they have Joe Pedro, Tyreek George, and Mark Q. Gui, but I don't even know what his name is. I've never seen him play. So, like, are they going to drop Pedro in and then put Tyreek George or the other fella in front of him? Like, it's just they have so many issues that I just don't see how they get off enough of a head of steam unless they get a goal from set pieces. Because Jesus, we know Liverpool can't defend a set piece for their life at the moment,
Mm.
whatever is going on,
Maybe they might target
and
that
that might be
if
the
they're
yeah
smart about it.
with Reece James taking him. Like
Mm.
he has always had a really good delivery, so that could be an area from to hurt Liverpool. But I just think if they give Liverpool enough of the ball, Liverpool will grow into the game. Liverpool just need to calm down in possession. They always seem to play or try and play the hard pass, even if there's an easy one on. They're always looking for that killer ball. Sometimes you just need to just keep it. Play 10 passes before you try and play your killer ball. Try and stretch the team a little bit.
Yeah,
It doesn't always have to be straight away get the ball, fire it up top, and hope for the best. Like you need to. That's not what we did last year. That's not how we won the league last year. So they need to try and go back to what they were doing last year. Even if it is in a new formation, it doesn't really have to change. Just keep the ball, frustrate the other team, tire them out with running. Just literally make them run into the ground, and then when you get to the edge of the box, then try and find your pass. But I do, yeah, I think Liverpool 2-0.
yeah, mentioned it a few times, and it's be a good time now for Verts to get his first goal or assist because he really needs to do
Yeah,
something. And I have a feeling he will this weekend. I think he'll do something special. So I think Liverpool will get the win. But again, we'll have another conversation. If Liverpool lose this game, there'll be a lot more questions asked because, as we said, Chelsea are in a bad spot with injuries and stuff right now.
yeah.
So this is a must win.
Liverpool have dropped. Yeah, Liverpool have dropped with Paddy Power to second favourites for the league now. Arsenal have gone ahead of them.
Well, it's a bit of an overreaction,
Um,
but
yeah, massive. I was looking. Opta put up a stat the other day that Fierce and Jack Grealish have the most chances created in the league this season. They both created 21. So it gets to the point where it's like, how much more can he do? Like Jack Grealish is top of the assist chart with 6, and Fierce has none, and they both create the same amount of chances. People just aren't.
mm.
But like, sorry, these
Grealish only
these are
has four
shot
assists, though,
creating
I think.
chances. Sorry.
I think Grealish has 4 assists.
Yeah, but yeah, oh, you could be right actually, but he's top with whatever it is anyway, and every chance Fierce has created, like Frimpong fluffed one against Burnley, Isak fluffed one last night. Like he's doing all he can, and people just aren't putting the ball in the net. And I think Liverpool, there's so many Liverpool players who are just out of form at the moment. That
Yeah,
they're trying to be played back into form. McAllister and Salah are my biggest worries, really. Um, Salah just looks on the periphery, and I think it's down to the system as well because he's not getting as much ball as he did last year. It's nowhere near, and I think he's missing Trent quite a lot because Trent would put that ball over the top for him. But obviously, Trent's not coming back, so they need to find a new way of getting the ball to Salah, getting him more involved because he was second, or no, he was the top scorer and the top assister last year. Like you
yeah.
don't lose that in the space of 3 months. He's just not getting enough ball to cause the damage that he should be doing. So we'll have to wait and see how Slot fixes it.
I think Frimpong's strength is going and being an overlapping winger or wing back, and I don't really think Salah fits the mold of someone who can play with somebody like that.
No.
So that's kind of a questionable one. Maybe the system will change slightly when Salah moves on, and you'll have Frimpong as the basis of that right hand side with somebody that's willing to play out on the overlap. So
Because the
um,
difference between Bradley and Frimpong is so stark. Like Bradley gets the ball and he's always coming inside,
yeah,
whereas Frimpong gets the ball, he's always looking to go outside, and it doesn't suit Salah. Bradley and Salah worked so well last year. Salah and Frimpong haven't gotten any sort of connection yet, so we'll have to wait and see what Slot can do to fix that.
yeah, no, you're definitely right. Let's move on into the NFL. So we just had the NFL Dublin game last weekend. I was there in attendance. You see, I'm drinking out of my NFL Dublin game cup that I got. Spent an extra, I don't know how much on a drink just to get that. I was like, why not if you're there?
€500 probably.
Yeah, got an old Vikings hat. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see now has a nice
That is
Dublin
class.
game emblem on the side. And obviously, you have to get an old match program for the just for the moment that was in it. It's actually very good. There was a lot in it, and I think it was worth. It was like a tenner. So some of them are useless, and you're paying like 10 or 15.
Yeah,
So pretty good.
like every single Munster game one.
Yeah. So I think it's nice to have one for a special occasion. But onto the game, the unreal atmosphere. It was so loud. it felt like a home game for both teams at different points. It obviously felt more like a home game for Steelers because there was more Steelers fans there. It was sold out on like third downs for the Vikings, but there was also times where they were doing the skull clap for Vikings fans, and they were making a lot of noise on third down too, which was amazing. A lot of people saying it's one of the best international games they've been to. I think Jason Kelsey was saying that on the podcast with Travis. I saw that clip doing the rounds. But outside of the atmosphere, looking at the actual play on the pitch, what did you make of it from watching at home?
The Steelers made the Vikings look useless. And we know they're not because of what they did the weekend before, where they just couldn't get anything going, the Vikings. The Steelers were so much quicker. DK Metcalf looked like his old self again, just ripping off that massive run. He only had 5 catches in the end, but it was 5 catches for 126 yards and a touchdown.
Mm.
His longest was an 80 yards. It was just like Kenneth Gainwell probably wants to play in Dublin every week with how well he played as well. Like the Steelers just showed up massively, and the Vikings just weren't able to. Their garbage time touchdowns really gave it a far better looking scoreboard than it should have been. I thought the Steelers were far and away deserved winners.
I think the DK Metcalf touchdown was the longest in international game history.
Yeah, it was a
So that was pretty cool to have that. And your point on like the garbage time touchdowns, I wouldn't really classify it as that because I feel like they were getting a bit of like a push on there, and they still had the chance to tie that at the end if they could have just gotten to like the 40-yard line. But the offensive line was just decimated by injuries. The
mm.
Steelers defense is carrying them in this game with the turnovers, but I'm still looking at the Steelers and they're not a good team. Like they're not good
No, they're
enough.
not.
They're 3-1, and don't get me wrong. Like I could be very wrong about this, but they have the highest turnover differential. So I think they're like +9 or +7 in turnover differential compared to their opponents. You can't keep turning the ball over that much. You're relying on your defense to do that and give you multiple chances every game to win. They got absolutely destroyed by the Seahawks. They should have lost to the Jets. They should have lost to the Patriots, and they still gave the Vikings a chance despite the massive turnovers. And the Vikings just looked really poor, as you said, but some of that is down to big injuries, and some of that is down to the Steelers' play. I'm personally happy that the fourth quarter was close because
Yeah,
it made for a really, really good last like 5-10 minutes because the atmosphere was class then when it started coming close. It was a bit flat when it was like 21-3 or 24-3. You're like, oh Jesus, like this is not a great looking game, and you don't want the first one in Ireland to be like a damn squib. But then it really
yeah.
turned around, and it had the second most viewership of any international game. I think 7.9 million average viewers. I think that was in the US, and that bumped up to like 9 million over the last like half an hour. So it was good to have that good ending.
Yeah, one thing about the Steelers, and I know this is going to sound absolutely crackers, but I think if they had lost to the Jets in the first game like they should have, I wonder what their record would be because I really don't think they'd have gone on to beat the Patriots and win that game in Ireland. And I wonder, would the Jets be a 3-1 or a 2-2 now if they'd won that first game and they just had a bit of momentum? But
Mm.
Steelers are kind of they're on the crest of a wave. Their defense had 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and 14 quarterback hits.
You're not
Like
having that every
that's
week.
no, you're not having that every week at all. Like, so it's kind of like they really are. They're on the top of this wave now, and they're going to come crashing down. They're going to go on a losing streak at some point. Because as you said, they aren't a good team, and they got the Vikings at a good time. Got lucky in the other two wins against the Jets and the Patriots, and there's only so long you can get away with it. Like it's like we're talking about Liverpool overperforming their XG. Steelers are doing the NFL equivalent. They're overperforming their XG, and it
Yeah,
is going to have to come back down to earth at some point.
yeah, I agree with you. Pretty cool point moments for the TJ Watt interception and then the celebration where he kicked the ball into the crowd. That was class. The crowd
Yeah,
was going crazy for that. One that I saw back afterwards was when Rogers threw that touchdown pass to Metcalf. He just like banged a smelling salt and like flicked it behind him like it was a cigarette, and then like snapped the ball and threw it. That's like so Rogers, like just mad, just hilarious stuff. But I have a question for you here. Have you ever gotten stuck in a horrendous line waiting for points at an event?
yeah, too many.
Well, multiply that by about 6 million, and that was Croke Park. It was tragic. That was the worst part of the whole the event being organized. God, if I could even speak. That was the whole worst part of the organization they had. Like they didn't plan for having like 76,000 people all wanted to have
Drinking
pints and bring
pints.
them to their
Yeah,
seats, because I was standing in a line where there was literally four people working in the bar. It was one of the big bars that like kind of looped around, and there was no less than like 200 people waiting in line. I was waiting 40 minutes to get a pint. I missed the DK Metcalf touchdown. Like I wasn't in my seat for that because I literally went to get a pint, and I was like, right, it's the second quarter is about to start now. I'll go. And look, if I miss like 5 minutes of play, that's fine. No, I missed like a huge chunk of the second quarter because of the line was that bad. And when you're that deep in it, you're like, I'm not going to leave
you're
it
not
now.
giving up. Yeah,
Like, and I wasn't drinking warm cans of Rockshore that they were handing around at the seats. I was like, I'm waiting for Guinness here. I might as well get
yeah,
it. And that was the factor went into me getting this cup, because I was like, here, if I'm going up here, I'm getting something to bring home with me after
yeah.
all of this waiting. But yeah, I was like, after that, I was like, I'm not leaving my seat. And then I went to the bathroom when there was that injury, like with like 3 minutes left. Come out, I hear this big roar run out. Addison for the big reception had just gone
Yeah,
on. I was like, are you joking me? Like, next time I go, I'm ordering like 10 pints of Guinness. Don't care if they're warm, putting them under my seat, and
just
I'm not
leaving him at
moving
your
for the
seat.
whole game.
Yeah,
Like, if I have to pee,
yeah.
it's going into one of those Guinness cups. I'm not leaving that seat because I'm not missing another big play next time.
Yeah, so when I was at the Cowboys and Chiefs game over in Texas a couple of years back, we didn't have to leave our spot because they had cooler bags going around with bottles of beer,
Oh
the
my God.
plastic bottles of Bud Light, and it was a cooler bag. They were really nice, so they were freezing. It
That's
was like,
great.
and hot dogs going around. Everything was just so well done, and they were like, it's their first go at this. They will definitely do it better next time because they'll know it's like, okay, everyone wants a pint. Literally everybody, probably everyone in the stadium over age was looking to have a pint. So they'll have to do better. They'll have to get double the staff day of working, even like whatever they pay them, they're still going to make a profit on it. And the amount of money it brought in tourism as well is unbelievable. So
Yeah. Like, if
yeah,
you're
I
happy
actually
enough,
had
go ahead.
one.
No, go
I had
ahead.
a friend of mine, Tig from Lahinch, was brought up by NFL UK to do the interviews with the players and all that, and he absolutely loved it as
Oh,
well. So
class.
yeah, so he works for Spencer West, and he was just up doing interviews and just literally hanging around with the players. Like, so he had a great time as well. And I just think the whole thing went off really, really well, and it was really, really good to see all around that everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the atmosphere was brilliant. And they did, of course, have like people going around with cans of Rockshore, but I honestly think it's like one of the worst drinks.
It's the worst beer.
And it was like not really cold, like lukewarm. And I was like, there's no chance. Like next year, all they have to change is literally just have someone going around with like a proper cooler bag with a load of cans of Guinness, and I would happily pour them myself at the seat if I had to,
Yeah,
because if
I
that
think the
avoids the
thing is
queue, then
that
that's fine.
yeah, the thing is that Rockshore have just bought up so many of these. Like they've all of the League of Ireland grounds now sell
Yeah,
Rockshore because they're just the sponsor of it. So I'd imagine the fact that there's been a couple of games in the Aviva and stuff recently that Rockshore probably bought up the Aviva and Croke Park and probably the Gaelic grounds as well. Whenever I get back there again, it's probably going to be all Rockshore to have points. So I think we might just have to accept the fact that Rockshore are just here to stay for the moment, unfortunately. But oh
yeah,
god, I couldn't. Their lager is awful. Their cider is drinkable,
yeah.
but their lager is absolutely horrific.
I think the cider is actually pretty nice, to be honest, but yeah, the cider is
Yeah,
awful, or the lager is awful. But I think they're owned by Diageo anyway, so wherever
yeah, I
you
think
see
so.
Guinness, you're going to see Rockshore,
Yeah,
which
so
is
just put
unfortunate.
cans in the bag.
Yeah, but yeah, brilliant event. Really happy that I went, and I'm sure if it comes back around, you'll definitely be buying tickets after seeing how good that one
Yeah,
went. But
definitely. But
yep,
speaking of awful, let's
yeah,
move on to the Ravens.
just one more point I had on that was, if it does
Oh,
come back
sorry, yeah.
next year, I hope they bring like a very strong quarterback talent. And like Chiefs said, they want to be over here. So if they had Mahomes, or even if they could get somebody with like a big arm like Jordan Love, or imagine Josh Allen, any like more like solid
Elite.
level of
Yeah,
quarterback play, because Rodgers is kind of throwing short passes now. The DK one was a lot of run after the catch, and then Wentz was just not it. So that's the only thing. I would love to see that next time, but it was an amazing start. But as you said, Ravens, not so good. What have you got on them?
they're 1-3, but somehow it feels like they're 0-4 because this isn't a team that should be starting a season 1-3. I think their biggest issue is quite clearly their defense. I think it's easy to see the points they've given up this season: 41, 17, 38, 37. The 17 was against the Browns. The other three, okay, it's the Lions, the Chiefs, and the Bills. Fair enough, three of the best teams in the league, but that's the level you think you're at. How are you going out there and just giving up that much? And I just think outside of Kyle Hamilton, their defense is nothing to write home about. Like I just think it's so badly put together that they've probably focused so much on offense and helping Lamar that they're like, oh, we actually forgot we have another side of the ball, and Lamar can't put up 40, 45 points every single week to win his games. I can't believe how bad they've been.
Yeah,
I really, really can't. And the weekend they were atrocious against the Chiefs.
yeah, but it's like a battlefield out there on their defensive side of the ball. Like if you look at right now the players who didn't participate in practice this week, Chidobe Awuzie, Marlon Humphrey, and Nate Wiggins, three of their best three cornerbacks, all
Yeah,
gone. Roquan Smith didn't train, and he's probably the most important part on the defense apart from Kyle Hamilton, as you mentioned. Then those who had limited participation, Kyle Van Noy, who was superb the last couple of seasons, Brent Urban, D lineman, and then Kyle Hamilton himself was a limited participant with a groin injury. So if he goes too on top of everything else, that'll go from conceding like 33 a game to like 45 because they have
yeah,
literally nothing on the defensive side of the ball. And then with Lamar's injury, and looking at their offensive line, they've got some injuries there too. And Tyler Linderbaum is injured, as is Ronnie Stanley. So they're really, really hit by injuries. I think if they didn't have so many injuries, they're probably 2-2. They would grab one of those other games that they lost. But at the same time, it's looking quite difficult because now they're playing a team in the Texans who really have to scrape and grab to get everything they can after starting 0-3. They got a win
yeah.
last week. That's in Houston. And then next up, then they have the Rams, and that's in LA. So I don't know. Sorry, both of those games are at home in Baltimore, but the point still stands. They're playing a team in the Texans who need a win, and then the Rams who look like Super Bowl contenders. Like if they go to one and
Unbelievable.
five, I find it quite hard to see how they turn
Make
things
playoffs even.
around.
Yeah.
I don't know. They could they get to could they get on a good run and get it to 10-7 or 9-8? They could, yeah, but they're making it very hard for themselves. I think
Yeah. If
the
you're starting 1-5 to get to 9-8
mm,
after that horrific start, it takes some turnaround in talent and fortune and just the players, not even their attitudes, their morale. Like it's going to be in the dirt if they're 1-5, and you're like, okay, let's go out there and win 9 and lose 3 of our next 12. Like it's very hard to get anyone to do that. There's not too many teams in football who'll be able to turn around a 1-5. I think another issue they seem to have is that outside of say Flowers, he doesn't seem to really trust the receivers to put it up and expect them to come down with it. And it's an issue I mentioned with the Jets last week as well. That outside of Garrett Wilson, they don't seem to really trust the ball, throwing it to many other people. Now, clearly the Ravens are a fair better team than the Jets are at the moment, but
mm,
they're showing the same kind of issues where even he's trusting Mark Andrews a bit more, but Mark Andrews doesn't have the explosiveness he did have. So he's only getting small gains now, whereas where he was getting 30 out before, he's getting 5 to 10 now. So that's kind of costing him as well. But it's another one where like the quarterback can only do so much. Derrick Henry isn't carrying the ball half as much as he was either. I presume
mm.
it's because of the two fumbles he had in the last two games where they just seem to be kind of leaving him out a bit more as well, which is strange. It just feels like the whole thing has gone sideways on him very, very quickly, and they obviously didn't expect to start 1-3, but they definitely didn't expect to have to be so bad on defense and struggling a bit on offense as well.
Yeah, I think the point about Henry is an interesting one because he looked so dejected after that last fumble he had against the Lions.
Yeah,
He just looked shocked and confused as to how that even could happen to him, which is, You don't want your star running back to look like that. You want him to be, confident in himself, and that might have played into the snap count that he had, or maybe they held him back late in the game against the Chiefs because it was over. But again,
Yeah,
it's not a good sign, and Lamar's possibly going to be out for 1 to 3 weeks. That's going to be a tough one. It's a must win against the Texans. I think maybe the Rams, they can afford to lose that one, and if they're 2-4, they say okay, reset. But Cooper Rush needs to get the win here against the Texans and get them to 2-3 and see what happens then against the Rams. But I really think it could come down to the wire, because if you looked at their last 6 games, they play 2 against the Bengals and 2 against the Steelers. So massive divisional games in those last six
yeah,
weeks. So if that might come down to the hope that they need to go 9-8, and that might be enough to win the division at the end. And those games are then going to be massive because Browns, Steelers, and Bengals, with their issues that they all have individually, then the division doesn't look that good. So they could win it at 9-8.
yeah, yeah. So much, you're very right there because their division is really, really weak. Um, the Bengals are shambles without Joe Burrow.
And Joe,
Um, they're just it's mad to see. Like, obviously, the quarterback is the most important player. Everyone knows it. But when you actually see it playing out in front of your eyes the way it is at the Bengals, you see why they gave him so much money.
yeah.
And you can see why they gave Chase so much money because he's the number one target. And when the two of them are both on form, the Bengals
Mm.
are borderline unstoppable with just the two of them at times. And then you have T. Higgins as well on the other side. So I can't believe how bad they've been. It's mental. Josh Browning clearly isn't this. But what you do, like there's like,
It's
did
not
you go and try and bring in Shador Sanders, or do you just keep going?
great
I don't
for
know.
Russell Wilson. He's available, guys.
Yeah, it's just Shador Sanders will probably be playing next week for the Browns with the way they're going now as well. They're just going to rattle off their quarterbacks every third week with the looks of it as well. So I just think like losing Lamar here and having to go to Cooper Rush is such a difference in style as well. So
Yeah,
that
it's a
mean Derrick
disaster,
Henry
really.
will be back in? Yeah. Is Derrick Henry going to get 25 touches again? I need Justice Hill to get a couple of touches for my fantasy league because the bye weeks have absolutely killed me here. So I have him. I need him to be my running back one this weekend. That would be lovely. But I think, as you said, if they don't win this weekend, they're not beating the Rams the weekend after. So they could very easily go to 1-5 and then they're in massive trouble then.
Yeah, and I think the Texans' defense is unbelievable too. So they're probably going to have to
Mm.
try and throw things, throw the ball, which means he may force things. And if Cooper Rush is forcing it, that's not going to be a recipe for
Interceptions.
success. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. And if you have the Texans in your fantasy team, yeah, do not get rid of them anyway before this game. But
Yeah.
one point you made on looking at Lamar and how he doesn't really trust people outside of Flowers. I think that's a great point, because you might say, okay, he's getting sacked way more this season, so the offensive line isn't as good. It isn't as good, but it's actually a lower pressure rate than they had last season. So it is down to him, like, knowing what receivers he can go to. And Isaiah Likely
Holding
being
it too
out, I
long.
think, was massive in the first few weeks.
Mm.
They had no like kind of outball, and I feel like Justice Hill might be used a little bit more because he often does turn to him for short passes out of the backfield, and maybe that's something Cooper Rush will go to this weekend. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of questions around them. I still think they're an excellent team, and I honestly still think they'll win this division. But a lot of it may come down to this weekend's game. It might be one that gets them over the line come the end. So let's move on then. We've got Gan Seans. Last week, I had one win. I had Brighton beating Chelsea. I believe you also had that. And I believe you had
I had
another one
two.
as well.
Yeah, I had the Chiefs at home to
Yeah, that was
the
a great pick.
aforementioned Ravens, which was it was mad that they were underdogs considering how bad the Ravens, the Bagels, I just called them, the Ravens were going into it. But yeah, I got 2 points. I'm really annoyed at myself that I didn't back Brentford last week, and I think I didn't because I was like, I really can't go against United again. I can't go against United every single week as much as I want to, and I didn't
Mm.
back myself. So it could have been a 5 pointer, but anyway, we move on. The Premier League this week was a bloody nightmare to pick from again, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very tough one. I went with two in the NFL because of it. I was just like, I
I did
can't.
it all, yeah.
But I'll go up with mine first, if that's okay.
Mhm.
I've got the Vikings to beat the Browns to beat the Vikings in London. So it's a half two game on Sunday. I think it's a
Mm.
recipe for success here for the Browns because the Vikings are missing, I think, four of their starting five offensive linemen and possibly their backup center as well. So that Browns defensive front is no joke, and the Browns defense in general is very, very good. So I think they'll have a field day against Carson Wentz, and I think that's going to be a game where the Browns could win it like 9-6 or something like that. And Dylan Gabriel adds something a little bit different. He's starting this weekend instead of Flacco. So I think they'll have something to get them over the line and win. They are 17-10, and the Vikings are 1-2. Then my next pick is the New York Giants, 11-10. I can't believe the Saints are favored here. It's probably just because it's in New Orleans, but that's 6
Yeah.
p.m. on Sunday. The Saints are 10-13. I think the Giants coming off a big win. I think it could be very close. I think the Saints aren't that bad this season, but I just think that out of all the games I saw in front of me, that was kind of the last one left that I could decide. After I picked the Browns, and then also Brentford is my other pick. I'm going out there. I mentioned it earlier. They're playing City. They are at home in the G Tech, and this is 4:30 p.m. on Sunday, and they are 15-4, and City are 8-13. So I've got Brentford, the Browns, and the Giants. If you put the three of them together, it is 26-1.
That's really solid. I have one the same as you. It's the Premier League one as well. I also have Brentford at home to Man City.
Nice.
Because of just about how difficult it was to pick this weekend, Brentford just jumped out to me at 15-4.
Mm.
I just think it's a great bet. I didn't back them last week and I should have, so I had to go with them this week. Other than that, I have the Titans at 3-1, and I'm just looking up what Arizona are in that because I forgot to write that one down. Arizona are 2-9,
I think that's
and
crazy.
they've just lost Trey Benson now as well. So they're down to Dean Mercado and
Big
two
fuck.
other lads. I think they're sorry.
I just think, regardless, it's the Titans. Like, they,
I just think at 3-1, I I had to do it. I
fair
think
enough, fair
Arizona
enough.
could struggle out here, so we'll have to wait and see.
Mhm.
And like you backing the Giants, I have backed my Jets to beat the Cowboys at home. So let's see. The Jets are 11-10. The Cowboys are 8-11.
Yeah, that was one that I was like, I think it'll be close because the Cowboys defense stinks, but I also really like their offense. It's really, really good. So the Jets are going to have a tough time keeping them under wraps, but I'm actually looking forward to that one to see if the Jets can pull out a win because I thought they should have last week and they didn't. And on the Cardinals one, I do think it's mad to pick just because um, Brian Callahan looks like probably the worst coach I've ever seen in the NFL. He is awful in every facet of the game. The way he manages clock, the way he manages the roster, the way he speaks after games, everything just is wrong about it. So he needs to go. But I think you might see one where it was like the Panthers just randomly beat the Falcons a couple of weeks ago. It could be another one
Yeah.
like that. And the Cardinals are the type of team that will lose to a team like the Titans. So look, you're putting it on the line. It'll be very nice for you if you get that as one of
Yeah.
your picks up. So,
It's 39-1 as a treble as well. Just putting that
oh,
out there.
nice. Yeah, the Titans one really brings it up. Even if you put
Yeah.
them in, I'd say against the spread to cover, you'd still get some nice odds there. So worth looking at. And you mentioned not putting in United every week. I was very close to putting in Sunderland to beat United this week.
Yeah.
I was like teetering
Me too.
between that and the Giants, and then I was like, I have to pick one of my teams, and I was like, oh, I can't go against. I was like, if I go with the Giants, I'm going to curse them. If I go with Sunderland, I'm definitely going to lock in a win here for Sunderland. But then I was like, yeah, I just think United at home, they're probably just going to eke out like the crappiest 1-1 draw you'll ever see. So I just had to
Or
go with the
they
Giants.
might do the same as they did against Burnley, where they just like scrape over the line with a last
Mm.
minute penalty or something like that. But
But top
yeah,
four
we'll have to wait
Sunderland
and
aren't
see.
to be laughed at.
No,
Got to keep them
absolutely
around.
not. They're flying.
Yeah.
We might have a word next week on the three promoted teams and the
Mm.
difference they've made in comparison to the ones that came up last year, because it again. It's second or third time I've used this now. It's on your bingo cards, but it's chalk and cheese. The three that come up last year, the three this year, they're so much better than what we were watching last year. But anyway, we've done our football. Let's get
Yeah,
on to the
no,
NBA.
I agree with you there. I think that's a good point. That's something we should touch on because it's a massive gap. But as you said, NBA. We've got three California-based teams here to cover this week because we're moving close to the end of the West. I think we've got three more sets of teams to do. The NBA preseason, well, not like they had the summer league, but the proper preseason kind of kicked off today. I saw the Sixers were playing the Knicks in Abu Dhabi, and it just flashed up there a minute ago that the Knicks won. So I'd like to take a look at that box score and see who managed to play for the Sixers, considering injuries again. But we'll start with the Lakers. We already covered the Clippers. Next LA team up. Where do they need to improve most from last season?
Their rebounding and their rim protection. I do think the pickup of DeAndre Ayton is going to help here, but it's if they can keep him fit. He only played 40 games last year. They need
Mm.
him to be upwards of 60 if they're going to have any hope here. A player I'm going to mention in a second as well is someone that they could use to try and just protect the rim a bit more because they underutilize him. We'll talk about him when I get to the under the radar player, but they just get punished in the glass, sorry, in the paint and on the glass every single year, and they really do need to get that sorted this year.
When we get there, can I guess who your player is? Because I have a little idea, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I also went to the same thing in terms of looking at rebounding. They're the fifth lowest in rebounding rate per game last season at 42.4 per game. Now, I did note that they've gone out and got Aiton as well, and they do need
yeah,
improved center play, but I'm not sold that he's the one to do that. He has averaged 10 rebounds pretty much across his or across last season, and I think in every other season he's been like between 10 and 11 per season. So he is okay at getting rebounds, but I think it's mostly defensive. I don't think he's a very strong force on the offensive board. So I'm not sure he's the best option now. I'm happy to be wrong about him because I would like him to kind of turn things around and hit that dominating thing that like this Phoenix Suns used to say about him, but
yeah.
it never came to fruition, and he seems to have fallen out with a lot of people along the way. So let's see if he can do it. But I highlighted the same thing as you, that they need to improve on rebounding. Is the player you're going to talk about Jared Vanderbilt? Oh, who is it?
Rui Hachimura.
Oh, okay, okay. The other forward
Um,
that can defend the rim.
I don't know why they don't like they when they brought in Luka Doncic last year, they didn't get in the center they wanted. I don't understand why they didn't just try Rui Hachimura in there.
They
Now
did a little bit
I'm
though.
no expert, but they didn't do it enough. Like so, he last year he had 13 points and 5 rebounds in 57 starts. I think if it's not going to be the Andre Ayton in there, then give him a go and see what he does. He's over 7 foot tall, so the size isn't the problem there. He's strong. He's willing to put his body on the line as well. So put him in there and see how it goes. If it goes terribly, then I'll hold my hands up. Fair enough, it hasn't worked. But if you're listening to me at all, just put him in there and give him a go because I do think he's a really really solid basketball player.
Yeah, I think that is a good shout. He's nowhere near 7 foot tall though. He's 6'8". So
Is it,
that's a big
are you
that's a
sure?
big
Did you just look it
yeah.
up? Because I was maybe it's the Andre Ayton 7 foot so and I'm
Yeah,
after
the
getting the two
Andre
of them
Ayton is
confused.
seven
Maybe
foot.
okay,
Yeah. Because I was thinking
okay,
when you said that, I was like, Rui Hachimura is definitely not 7 foot. I was like, I'll check it. But regardless of that, you are right in everything else you pointed out about him that he probably needs to be utilized more. And I don't know whether I don't know if the actual right thing to do is play him at center, but it can't hurt if Aiton doesn't work. Just give him a go
Hmm,
and see it. But they did do it a little bit last season, and going into the playoffs, I think that was something I said. I did say like a few times in across the podcast that they can't do that in the playoffs because they're going to get found out very quickly. But then they end up playing Jackson Hayes there, and that was definitely not
yeah,
much better.
yeah,
So they might as well give it a try. But I also think Vanderbilt is good in at rim protection and bringing down rebounds too. From the forward position. So between the two of them, they have something there. For my under the radar player, I went with Marcus Smart. I think getting him in at a very low price was very smart. A couple, oh
yeah.
no, mind the pun. A couple of years at just over 5 million a year. Um, just 2 years ago, he was given Memphis 15 points per game as a starter,
Yeah,
and then at the peak of his powers at Boston, he was given 6 assists per game. So he can score the ball if you need him to. He's a quite a good passer, but he's a very very good defender. Um, he's averaged 2 steals and blocks across his career if you combine them, and he was 2022 Defensive Player of the Year for a reason. I think that year they were kind of trying to make a point of picking a guard, but he was deserving of it in that team. And I think they did very well to bring him in. And he's still 31. It's not like he's over the hill yet. So I
Yeah,
think he can
absolutely.
contribute still for them.
Yeah, I
Next up
agree
is
100%.
looking at the over under wins. So 48 and a half. Last year they had 50. Um, it's early days with Luka last year and they still managed 50. I think they have a better roster now, so I can see them getting around 50 again, even in a strong West. I just think Luka being on that team and LeBron, I just see them getting there again. You don't think so?
I think they'll be close to it, but I think they'll be more 46 to 48 than 50 to 52. So I went under on this. I think if everything goes right, they can absolutely break 50, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit. But if I am putting my neck on the line here now, I'm saying that they're just going to be under their 48 and a half.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's a decently set line, and you could make the
It
argument
is, yeah.
either way. I just think they have strengthened compared to last year, so I think they could do it. But looking at the ceiling then with the current roster and coach for the season ahead, what did you have?
Yeah, so I'm doing what I do every single time and completely contradicting myself from what I said 10 seconds ago. But I think they're a top three seed in the West, 52 to 55 wins. And then I think they can get to conference finals. And after that, then I don't know if I would put them as a team that make it to a finals yet. We'll have to see how the season goes. So at the moment, I'm just going to say their ceiling is the conference finals.
Yeah, and just like for everybody as well listening, like these are our like absolute push like picks. You'll find out
Mm,
what we actually think when we do the full season preview for each team, but or for the full season, like where we think these teams are going to land. But we're when we're answering this question, we're looking at like how far can they really go? And I would have to agree with you there. I also said Western Conference Finals is the best they can do. Just not having a really strong center that I believe in a lot kind of pushes them to not be able to get through that. But I do believe in Luka and LeBron a lot. Obviously, two
yeah.
amazing players, and they're just missing a couple more pieces to get to the finals. But I think they could still get to the conference finals. I think it's not too far out of their reach.
Yeah, I agree.
So next up is the Kings, where they need to improve most from last season. I said that they need to decide what they actually want to do, because they have no idea what they're trying to do with this team. They got rid of Mike Brown, and everyone was saying it was either him or De'Aaron Fox. Then, like 3 weeks later, they trade away Fox, and in
Yeah.
return for that, they basically just became the Bulls of the West because they've got DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine over there now with a European big man. So it's pretty much the same team that we saw in the Bulls in Chicago. This time it's on the West Coast, and yeah, it doesn't make sense to me at all. They need to decide if they're whether they're humming or hawing. Like, are they going up or are they going down? They can't decide what they want to do here.
Yeah, I just think like the back to back trades there you just mentioned was like a lot of mad things happened in the off season of the NBA this season, but I think that is right up there. It's like, oh, we're keeping one together. Actually, we're going to get rid of both and just basically fall apart right in front of everyone's eyes. Just yeah, like are they trying to push to get to playoffs? Are they trying to get a lottery pick? Who knows? Like they're one of the only teams that are sitting right in the middle of are we coming or are we going?
Yeah,
Because they might be doing both at the start and then see how it goes after 10 games and say, okay, we're actually going. Let's not come in anymore. So we'll have to wait and see what they do. But I went with their late game execution. They're just towards the end of games. They really do fall apart. The defense just flips. They don't get many stops. They don't score many points in crunch times as well, and that kind of cost them a good bit last year. So if they are going to keep coming instead of going, then they do definitely need to try and sort that out.
and the funny thing about that is they had De'Aaron Fox, who led the league in clutch points per game the year before,
Yeah.
and they had the clutch player of the year in DeMar DeRozan, and they got rid of one, and the other just hasn't really fit in there properly. So it's
Mm.
funny how things change, just by getting rid of one player. But looking at someone then who's under the radar, who do you like for this team?
Keegan Murray. I think he's
Mhm.
really, really good. 76 games last year, 14 points per game. he's only going to get better. He's still quite young as well. So I thought he was the standout of what they have left there in that roster.
Yeah, it was between him and Malik Monk for me. I just went with Malik Monk because he's kind of on the radar, but I think he could be used more in another team. He's a very good shooter and he's a very good offensive player in general. And I think he could contribute to a team that are pushing for much higher aspirations than what the Kings have. I think 17 points per game last season when he did move into the starting lineup instead of off the bench with 4 rebounds and 5.6 assists. So, very good all around player. His 3 point shooting took a dip, but he has been fairly solid in this across his career. Could do with a little bit of an improvement, but he's not afraid to shoot no matter what. So I think he could contribute more for another team. And I don't know. I think he has to start for them this season because they haven't enough to continue to use him as a six man. But
Mm.
looking then at their over under wins, 35 and a half, and last year they hit 40. What do you have for this?
I think they'll sneak it over if they keep coming instead of going. As in, just I think it's my new favorite phrase now. I think they'll get between 35 and 40. We'll have to see what they do from there then. So yeah, I'm just going to say if they work out what they want to do, they can get over this line comfortably.
If they figure out if they're chalk or cheese, as you would say,
Yeah, exactly.
they'll
Yeah.
know exactly what they want to do at that point. But I said they'd
I'm going
set.
to get so much abuse for these things I've come up with today. Outrageous. What is wrong with
It's
me?
just like pure cliches. Like
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it's
come out
taken
with it's a game
40
of two
episodes.
halves
Yeah,
now in the next minute. Like
yeah. This is episode 40, and I finally fallen to pieces by the looks of it. It only took 40 weeks.
I actually went to the exact same thing as you here though. I think if you look at last year, the Suns and Blazers both had 36 wins, I think. So this is like Suns slash Blazers of last year level. I think they're around that level, probably high
Yeah.
30s. But I think that realistically they might miss out on a play-in, but I think they have the ability to go over here. And then that leads into their ceiling with the current roster and coach for the season ahead. I kind of done what you kind of said earlier and contradicted. I said they probably will miss out on the play-in, but ceiling wise, I think eighth seed is the best they can do if everything goes
Mm,
right and they click with Demar and they find the best way to use Monk. But there's no way in my mind they win a playoff series with this team. Absolutely not.
no. Their ceiling is mid 40 wins, 8 seed, and losing the first round for me as well. Like they're not doing anything. Like even if they are chalk instead of cheese, sorry, even if they're cheese instead of chalk, they're still not winning the playoff series.
Sound
I
like
don't
a
care who
rally.
they are. So yeah, look, it's a game of two halves at the end of the day. We'll have to wait and see.
So let's move on to our last NBA team here before we lose our minds.
Yeah.
The Golden State Warriors, last another Californian team, as I mentioned at the top. San Francisco based. Where do they need to improve most from last season?
So much of their offense goes through Steph Curry still, and they need someone to help him. It can't just keep going through him. He misses a lot of games through injury, and then they just kind of fall to pieces. So they need someone that they can trust behind Steph Curry to when Curry's off color, which doesn't happen very often. Just someone to relieve the pressure on him.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I've gone with efficiency on offense, and that kind of ties into it because
Yeah.
I looked at this. It's kind of some strange sets of stats, but they had the eighth most field goals attempted per game in the league last season with 90.4, but they had the sixth lowest field goal percentage at 45.1%. So they are
Mm.
attempting a lot of shots, but a lot of them aren't good shots. You might chalk some of that up to Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Bajemski. Some of the shots they were taking last year was crazy, but I agree massively that too much goes through Steph, and it kind of shows that he is a very good shooting percentage. So the rest of them are clearly underperforming massively, and when he's not out there, it makes a big difference. But I think Jimmy Butler together with Steph for a full year will improve that definitely.
Yeah.
Someone under the radar that you like for the team. If I'll go first here, if that's okay, because this is a guy I really really like, Gary Payton II. He was a glue guy in 2022 during their championship run. It was great when they brought him back. I didn't like to see him leaving the team, but they brought him back, and now they've extended his contract again. So he's been there now for about 3 years, or 2 years. I think this will go into his third season.
This is
Back
going into
after
his third there, yeah.
yeah, after leaving in that championship season. But if he can stay fit, as he did in the championship season, he can contribute massively. Like that year, he had 7 points, 3.5 boards, and 1.4 steals in 17 minutes per game. That's massive contribution, especially on the defensive end. He can pretty much guard any player who's maybe I'd say below like 6'8", 6'8" down. He can guard anyone. Obviously, you're going to need someone bigger to guard some of the bigger guys, but he's an incredible perimeter defender. And I think if he stays fit, he'll be a massive glue guy once again for them.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely quality. I actually went with someone you mentioned a second ago, really, really under the radar. I've gone with Steph Curry. No, I'm only joking. I actually have gone with something you mentioned. I did go with Jonathan Kaminga, who you just give out about
Oh, Christ.
his shooting, but I just think so. He had 10 starts last year in 47 appearances, 15 points, 2 assists. I think he's 21 or 22. So if he can keep ascending the way he is, maybe learn from Steph on how to take, not how to take shots, when to take shots, and just kind of take another leap in his consistency, he could very well be a third option for them or fourth option behind Steph, behind Jimmy Butler, behind DeAndre, sorry, Gary Payton the third, second. Jesus, yeah, we really do need to end this. I'm losing my mind. I just think I like him. I think he's only gone one way, and it's up.
Yeah, I think he's someone who has the talent, but I just can never see him succeeding enough on this team because Steve Kerr just like hates putting him out there. He just can't
Yeah.
stand it, and he can't stand the way
Mm,
he plays. He just maybe Jimmy Butler can rein him in a bit and show him like how you can use when you have a strong physical body and how you can play and the effort you need to put in. So maybe that will be a help. But then again, they had Draymond there, and but sometimes his mentorship isn't the best when he's punching
yeah,
fellas in the
clearly.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a good player in there, and maybe it's not with the Warriors, and maybe he's one of these guys that goes to another team and he's like the star, but they're not very good. I could see that kind of a career trajectory for him, but yeah, he's an interesting one to keep an eye on. They obviously paid him as well, so he's back for the year, but then he has the ability to the team has the ability to rip up the contract and sort it out
Yeah.
again next summer. So
Renegotiate. Yeah.
yeah, we've got then last two questions. Do you think they're going to hit the over under wins this year? It's 45 and a half.
Yes.
48
They're going
last year.
over.
Do you think they'll
Yeah.
do it comfortably?
I think given their strengths that they have, if they again, Joe, we're talking about everyone staying fit here. They easily get to 50 wins with Butler, Steph Curry, Kaminga becoming a superstar all of a sudden because we just talked them down. I expect them to get to 50 here, and I think 45 and a half. It's a good line, but I think they'll walk the over.
Yeah, I agree. A full season of Steph and Jimmy, and they've added some good veteran pieces in Al Horford. Obviously, he's quite old, but they kind of replaced that Kevon Looney, different kind of player again to Looney, but they replaced his minutes, I guess, with somebody who's older that can play center. And then they added Seth Curry, who I always thought would be a good fit for the Warriors because he's a good shooter and he does work hard on defense. So it's interesting having the two brothers there together. And then they've got running it back with Buddy Hield and DeAnthony Melton, who are solid players as well when they stay fit, especially Melton. If he stays fit, he's very good. So I think they're going to offer at least the same as last year, if not more. So I agree with you. Looking at their ceiling, then, what do you have for the season ahead?
They can get to NBA finals for me. Will they get there? You'll see in about a month's time. I think they can get a 55-58 win season, get to the finals, and maybe even win it. We'll wait and see. But I think they definitely have finals upside.
Yeah, I've gone with championship. I think they can definitely do it. Like this team showed in burst last year what they can do with Steph and Jimmy when they're both fit.
Mm.
If they have the two of them healthy for the playoffs and the other pieces have molded around them, I'm never going to get bet against Steph Curry. Like once he
Yep.
gets into the playoffs, once he gets rolling, like he's probably one of the reasons I fell in love with the NBA. He's probably my favorite player ever. I just love watching him play. The effort, the movement, everything about him is just amazing. And I'm not going to ever bet against him. So I think they have enough to win it. Again, as you said, do I think they will? We'll have to see when we get closer to the season. We do our full preview. So moving on then to our last segment, we've got the power rankings. Last week I went first, so I'll let you go first this time around if you want to give last week's one and then what changes you've made, if any.
Yeah, so I've completely ripped up the book and started again this week. So last week I had Liverpool top, Lions second, Eagles, Chargers, Palace, and Bournemouth. This
Hmm.
year the Lions have taken top spot for me. They just love their lives, those Lion fans. They're watching an outrageous defensive team every single week, putting up points upon points upon points upon points. They're just so much fun to watch. They had to go top. Next, I have two sets of Eagles. I have Crystal Palace second and the actual Eagles third. Liverpool have dropped to fourth for me. They just had a really bad week. No one's having fun. I'm not having fun watching them. Like they don't drop out because they are still champions, but they are down to fourth. The Chargers stay in for me, but they do drop a place just because of everyone else having more fun than they are. And reluctantly, Arsenal are back in at sixth. Um, Second in the Premier League now. They had a really, really late win against Newcastle, who it's sickened me when they went and won that game. But anyway, they're back in there as well. So I have Lions, Palace, Eagles, Liverpool, Chargers, and Arsenal.
Yeah, I've got pretty similar lineup to you. I have one team that's different, but my order is a bit different from yours. So last week I had Liverpool, Eagles, Chargers, Bills, Spurs, and Palace. So this week I've put Eagles top. As I mentioned, I think if you win the Super Bowl and you go 4-0, it doesn't matter how you do it. You're going to be top of the power rankings. But again, in the second half of the Eagles game, you only heard a stat. Like, this is unbelievable. When I heard it, I actually couldn't believe it. In the second half of their game against the Bucks, the Eagles didn't complete one pass, a single
Yeah,
pass. That's the first team to do that in 2 years. So yeah, this week I don't blame you for having them lower, but again, that's my rationale. They haven't lost a game, and they haven't lost in 20 straight with Jalen Hurts when he starts and finishes the game. So yeah, I kind of have to put them in there. Second, I've got Palace, same as you. Third, I've gone with the Bills. I've had them in since the start, and they're 4-0 now.
mm,
Even if they do look a bit shaky at times, I couldn't drop them out, so they've moved up a spot for me. Liverpool in fourth, same as yourself. Just a couple of bad losses, and I couldn't put them below teams that are 4-0, and I couldn't put them below Palace who beat them. So I think fourth is the right spot for now. Fifth then is the Lions. Obviously, you have them top, but I didn't have them in at all last week, so I kind of had to bring them in
yeah,
slowly here. And then sixth,
yeah,
I have Arsenal, same as you. I just think they're going well pretty much now at this point, and they're kind of on a steady course. So let's bring them in here and see how they get on continuing forward. So mine is Eagles, Palace, Bills, Liverpool, Lions, and Arsenal. But that's everything again this week. Hope you enjoyed your chalk and your cheese, and we'll catch you again next week.
see you lads. Thank you.